what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and today's video is going to be bookish. Today we are going to talk about my March wrap-up and my April TBR. There's 7 books to talk about in March alone, so we're just going to jump right into it. So the first book I read in March was Tokyo Ghoul Re Volume 7 by Suicida. This is a series I've been reading for a while. If you've been on this channel, you know I'm going to kind of gloss over like the main summary of the series, but like in summary of the summary, ghouls are running amok. The main character's half human, half ghoul. Ghouls eat people. That's a problem. He goes through a lot of mental anguish. Here we are. Can't really tell you what this specific volume is about because again it is so deep in a series, but I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. There was a lot of action in this. It was just so well written. A lot of favorite characters are coming back. The interactions were really well written, whether it's like the good interactions, the bad, the ugly. I live for Kaneki's mental anguish. Like some of the best lines in the series are in those specific panels and I live for it. Then I read Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Scientology, I think is the title, by Leah Remini. I actually listened to this on audiobook. Leah Remini is an actress. She is very well known for her role in King of Queens. And Leah Remini used to be a Scientologist. She had a reality TV show on TLC and I remember watching that and thinking she was hilarious. And she is just as hilarious in this. Like I said, I listened to it on audio and she does narrate the audiobook. It's non-fiction, so I don't really know how to talk about it, but I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. She gives us the juicy details about Hollywood, about Scientology, because I consider Scientology a cult, which I'm sure is not an unpopular opinion. Like, a lot of people consider it a cult. What happened with Leah is that she joined as a child mainly because she saw her mom enjoying it and, like, being as young as she was. I don't even think she was a teenager yet when she joined. Like, what are you supposed to do? And she got out of it fairly recently. Like, I think what caught my eye about Leah Remini's story in this book is just the fact that I have read, because I follow r/DuggarSnark on Reddit. The Duggars are the people with the 19 kids on TLC. They recently, a lot of people believe they were in a cult, but they recently got under fire. Recently as in like more than 5 years ago. They got under fire because not only are they part of a cult, but the brother it did get out that the brother molested his siblings when he was younger, and he had the Ashley Madison account, if you remember the Ashley Madison drama. So I follow that Reddit board, and a lot of people part of that subreddit did grow up in cults. And like a lot of them said, something that struck a chord with me, a lot of them said that the people most likely to believe were actually like the true blue believers, which I thought was funny because we always hear the stories of people escaping cults and they'll like talk about these stories saying like, oh, I really never believed it growing up, I always questioned it. And what these people on Reddit were saying is that the reason like the true blue believers are more often to leave is because they have such pure intentions with the religion that it's almost a culture shock when they find out people are twisting it. You know, God says one thing, but the leaders of this religion are doing something else, essentially, which is why Leah Remini's story struck a chord with me, because she was like that. She really had pure intentions with the Scientology church, and like when you listen to her story, she was a true believer, but like in the best possible way. Like she truly believed the money she was donating was going to these good causes. And it hurt her to find out that they weren't. Also, I really recommend the audiobook because like I said, she's really funny, and like her narration skills, and it helps that she's an actress, but her narration skills, she's really good at knowing when she can crack a joke and when she can read something in her sarcastic or funny tone, and when she does need to be serious. The more she talks about, the more it like amazes me that people can be joining these things. Like the biggest red flag for me was the amount of money you have to give up when you join this religion. Another red flag to me is that children and adults are treated the same, like on the same caliber. Which wife was it? One of Tom Cruise's wife, the one like Suri's mom, whoever Suri's mom is like that's the whole reason she got a divorce from Tom Cruise, was because of how children and the adults are treated and how sometimes children are put on a high pedestal. And fun fact, one of the problems Leah Remini had with the church was the pedestal that Tom Cruise is on. So I'm like, ooh, it's kind of suspicious there. This just gave me like what I needed. I love reading about cults. I don't know why, but So we're gonna move on. This was definitely like one of the best books I read this year. Okay, so next I read Tokyo Ghoul Re Volume 8. So there's a certain character in Tokyo Ghoul where after a while I was kind of begging them to kill him off because like it was just so obvious this character wasn't supposed to survive. It was a game of one. Like, when are you gonna finally like kill off this dude And it finally does happen in this volume, and I gave this 3.75 out of 5 stars. Originally it was going to be 3, because this volume really did drag, because I was waiting for them to kill off this fucking character, and I was begging for this arc to end because it was just dragging. And then it finally did, and the reason I upped it to 3.75 out of 5 stars is simply because of the ending. The endings to these things always get me. Give me a good ending, and I will give you a better rating. That's just how all this works. So then the next book I read was Origin by Dan Brown. This is book 5 of the Robert Langdon series, aka the Da Vinci Code. And in this one, Robert Langdon goes to Spain to see a show like by one of his ex-students he is going to put on. Something happens, so he goes on this, you know, crazy adventure to solve this mystery, as they do in these books. This book explores atheism versus religion, mostly Catholicism, because I noticed a lot of his books focus on Catholicism specifically. There's a real life cult mentioned in this. Like, again, my love for cults. Where is this coming from? It explores art. These always explore art. This explores whether or not we need a monarchy, which I thought was kind of funny that I was reading this book coincidentally around the time of the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry drama. I actually went into this book with really low expectations because books 3 and 4 were alright. They just weren't as good as Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code. But this exceeded my expectations, and out of the 5 books, this is actually my 3rd favorite. Despite the fact that this book is more of a, like, whodunit sort of story, and I will get to that in a second when I talk about, like, the cons of this book, because I did only give this 3 out of 5 stars, I think. And, you know, despite Dan Brown's writing just not being the best, his books are just so fun to read, and his characters do form, like, great connections, and I was kind of sad to see, like, the Bond girl of the story go. So I did have a few issues with this book, hence why it was 3 out of 5 stars and not, like, 5 out of 5. 1, the descriptions sometimes drag. A lot of times Dan Brown uses these books to show off his knowledge of, like, his extensive knowledge of art, religion, and, like, whatever cool fun facts he finds. And sometimes, like, I did catch myself going, like, please, for the love of God, just start the fucking plot. Like I said, this was, compared to the other books, this one, like, they're all, like, a whodunit type of story. It's just this didn't involve symbols as much as the other books did, and that's what made, like, the Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code so good. Of course, they had some, but, like, I wanted more. Another thing this novel explores is, like, AI systems and computers. And, oh, I forgot to mention, like, the big question of this book. The reason why it's called Origin is because the drama of it all is that this ex-student of Robert Langdon's, he discovered where humans came from and what we're evolving into. And basically the premise is, like, this discovery could ruin religion as we know it. Like, that was the drama of this book. So, because of that, that means, like, taking in, like, AI systems and computers. And there is, like, so the 3rd to last chapter ended on a really happy note. And then there was the penultimate chapter. It ended on, like, a mysterious and solemn note and kind of scary. And I was just really confused with where Dan Brown was going with that, especially because the last chapter ended on a very happy note and kind of acted like the penultimate chapter never happened. So I was like, what was the point of that? And so also what I'm about to say now has really nothing to do with this book. But in the 4th book, something happened with the ending, right? And assuming all these books are in the same universe, I'm just wondering why the ending to the 4th book was never brought up in this book at all, because Dan Brown himself said he wanted to incorporate that more. Yeah, so this was a solid 3 out of 5 star read. Of course, if he comes out with more books, I will read them. I just don't know when he's coming out with more books. Like, I don't see anything. Oh, it turns out I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But now that I'm, like, thinking about it, it really should be 3 out of 5 stars. So then next I read Tokyo Ghoul Volume 9. And this I gave 3 out of 5 stars just because the action of it was very intense. And it kind of kept me on my toes. It was just separate events happening at once. And the author would go back and forth between events. And it left the plot very disjointed. And it was kind of driving me crazy. But then, like, 2 of my favorites started fighting, and this has nothing to do with what I rated the book. I'm just, like, wallowing in my emotions right now. 2 of my faves started fighting, 1 of my faves got injured, and I screamed, and I was, like, messaging Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe about it, and I was like, girl, what the fuck? And I gotta say, despite giving it 3 out of 5 stars, the ending to it, my foot fell asleep. Holy shit. The ending to this book, or to this volume, left me so intrigued with where the arc is going. So then, I read Tokyo Ghoul Volume 10, and I didn't really say much on Goodreads, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I guess this is like another one where I can't really talk about because of all the spoilers, but all the ghouls are coming together, the found family, I love it, and it made me in my feels about it, not as much as the next volume, but I can't talk about that until next month, but made me in my feels, and there's just the action is just so good, you know? I wish I could draw and write like this. So finally, the last book I read in March was Judy, Moody Declares Independence. I reread this book because I'm rereading books I had to read for school. March was the month of 3rd grade. I read a lot of Judy Moody in 3rd grade. I was like required to. And this is the one where she has a trip to Boston and she's very patriotic all of a sudden. So now she wants to declare independence from her parents. She's putting on little shows. She's putting on the Boston Tea Party in her bathtub. It's really, really cute. What did I actually give this book? I remember this being one of my favorites from when I was younger. I think I gave it 5. Yeah, I gave this 5 out of 5. And Judy Moody just makes me nostalgic. I have nothing, I have no bad things to say about this book. It was fun. I had a good time, and it made me want to go visit Boston. I've been to the East Coast before, but only Philadelphia and New York. I've never been to Boston, and I would love to go. And this book sparked that. Alright, so now we're going to move on to my April TBR. I really have no set TBR just because I don't know what April's going to look like. So I'm going to start off with my currently reading. So as of filming this, it is April 4th. Happy Easter. Last night I did finish Tokyo Ghoul Volume 11, and I cannot talk about that until next month. So I'm just going to move on right away. But a book I started in March, and I'm only 115 pages in, is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is book 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I am rereading this. If you've been on this channel for a while, you've already heard this story, but if you're new, I had to read this when I was 13 for some reading program. Absolutely hated it. I thought it was boring, so I'm rereading it now, chalking it up to age, and plus now I know you need to read it for the journey and not necessarily for the plot or the end game. And surprisingly, that information, and maybe the fact that I'm older, actually helped. I would not rate this 1 out of 5 stars anymore. I would give it a bigger rating. I don't know which one yet because again, 115 pages in. But it's not as boring as I remember. I mean, there's like some points where I'm like, please move on. I don't care about the tree. I don't care about the bushes. Please move on. But I'm kind of having fun with this. Like, not the greatest time. Like, it's not gonna be a 4 or 5 star read. At most it will, like from what I'm reading now, it will be 3. But I'm intrigued enough to actually finish the book and move on with the rest of the trilogy. So then the other book I am currently listening to on audiobook. So I guess I have this thing going on where like every month I'm listening to a new audiobook, so now I feel the need, like that was a pure coincidence. But starting with April, I feel the need to actually like keep up with it. So this month I chose I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. Malala is a girl from actually a woman because she's my age. She got shot in the head by the Taliban for standing up for girls having an education. I'm about 40% of the way through this audiobook and it is blowing my mind. I don't want to get into too much detail about it because I want to save it for the wrap up. But not only am I learning about like that trauma itself, but I'm actually learning more about her village in Pakistan, her family background, why she was able to do some of the things she did. I'm actually learning more about Islam itself because she's getting more into the specifics because she is Muslim. I'm having a very good time with it. She does not narrate the audiobook. She narrates the prologue, but someone else narrates the rest of the book. I'm excited to actually see more of it because we're still like in the beginning stages of her story. Right now she's talking about 9/11 and how that affected Pakistan. And it is actually interesting reading about that American tragedy through the eyes of a non-American. I'm always intrigued on how like non-Americans view the stuff that happens here. But another set book I do have that I for sure do need to get to is what I will be reading. Well, I would be rereading from the books I read in 4th grade. So in 4th grade, what I mean by assigned reading is that books were handed out to us and we sat at our desk while the teacher read out loud, or we took turns reading, but we didn't have to bring the books home. We did read it in class together. So the book I'm picking is Holes. I forgot who this was by, but I'm picking Holes just so I can like do a movie reaction to the movie Holes, and because this was my favorite book I read in 4th grade. But I don't own this one, so I am hoping it's available at the library, because if not, it's either that, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which was what really got me into Narnia back in 4th grade, then Another book we read was James and the Giant Peach, and we also read The Taste of Blackberries. So hopefully they have holes. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, I don't want to create a set TBR for the rest of the month because holes is, like, I'm going to finish I Am Malala soon, and holes is not going to take that long to read either. But I don't want to make a set TBR just because I don't know how Lord of the Rings is going to go. Like, am I going to want to continue right away, or do I want to put books in between? So I'm just going to, like, talk about books that are in, like, my little pile to pick up from. Obviously, we have Tokyo Ghoul. The other two Lord of the Rings books I will be considering reading depending how I feel at the end of the Fellowship. So then the non-Lord of the Rings books I will be considering is Fever 1793. And then the other book I'm considering is The Desolations of Devil's Acre by Ransom Briggs. And this is the last book in the Miss Peregrine series. And if you've been here for a while, you're probably wondering, why do you want to read this book? You hated the 5th book. And you're right, I did hate the 5th book. But I didn't hate the other 4. And I've come so far, I can't just, like, not read them. So, I don't know. I read the summary, I read the synopsis, and it's one of my like least favorite tropes is when something bad is happening to the character, and that's where the book ends. It ends in that cliffhanger, and then the next book starts like, the last thing they remember is this, but then they woke up somewhere else. And according to the synopsis, that's what happens in this book. So we're already not off to a good start, but I have to open up my mind a little, you know? So I hope it's good. I don't know. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below what you read, what your favorite book was, what you plan to read. April is, I can't believe it's already April. Like, March 2020 took 20 years, and yet March 2021 took like 2 days to go by. What is happening with the world? But yeah, it's 11:40 at night and my throat hurts, so I'm gonna peace out. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill, and I'm gonna peace out, and I will see you guys later. Ciao a tutti.